Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we're coming to you guys with play-up props here on a Friday night to end this work week with you guys. We got 8 games to choose from, so feeling pretty good about that. Had 9 games last night and managed to go pretty high on that percentage with you guys. Only Jalen Williams was the only one who failed to hit. A couple of those props did have double-digit rebounds, so if you hit him the correct way, then you were undefeated as we were. But either way, continue to follow along with us and head to thelines.com. We're putting up all kinds of NBA player props and more up there right now for you guys as we are deep into this NBA season. We also have our odds finder tool up there for you so you can make sure that you are getting the best odds available across these U.S. sports books. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into your first NBA player prop for tonight.
Yeah, I hope some people took that plus 625 for DeMontis triple-double. Just barely got there. But yeah, we're moving on here, trying to pick some more winners and piggying off the game video where we like the Bulls, we like the extra rest, and I like DeMar DeRozan with some extra rest to snap out of this funk. He's definitely a buy low spot here at 22.5 points, even money at DraftKings. Also even money for him to get 10 combined rebounds, assists, which is right about his average at home. In 2023, I mean, he's averaging nearly 24 points per game at home. A lot of their last 7 games before the break where they just looked awful were on the road, including one at the Nets where DeRozan struggled. I mean, he hasn't been a world beater against the Nets at all lately. I mean, how much of that is playing against Kevin Durant? And while Mikal Bridges is a great defender, he gave him 29 points at Phoenix early this season, so it's not necessarily a stay away spot. And it's just more about the rest for me. I mean, on 3 days rest this year, 30% usage rate for DeMar, 26 points per game, 6 assists, and his highest offensive rating at 127. So I think, and Brooklyn, even with Bridges coming back in here, they're allowing the 4th most assists per game in the last 7 to small forwards, allowing the most rebounds to small forwards in the last 15. So I do think we'll have some peripheral stats because Brooklyn's offense is not all that. Should be plenty of rebounds for DeRozan, but I do think he gets at least like 25 points here if you even want an alternate line.
I'm with it. I mean, I don't think there's going to be very many points in this game, to be honest. That's the only thing that scares me about it. That's something that we talk about in the game videos. My bet in that one is an under a little bit more than anything else. But I mean, DeMar, it needs to get out of this funk at some point, and I do think the 3 days rest combined with some success he's actually had against a defense that's going to look kind of similar to what he faced when he played the Suns earlier this season. I think there's something to be said for that. So I'm going to go with my guy, my favorite Knick of all time. I'm not being facetious here. Jalen Brunson, 26.5 points. It's high. It scares me a little bit, but he crushes Washington so far. I mean, this year in 2 versus Washington, 33 a game, 34 and 32 respectively, with an 136 offensive rating. He's also got 6 assists, 5.5 boards in that time frame. I'll also say the last game he played against this team when he was a member of the Mavericks, he did get 30 minutes in that game, only got 21 points and 4 rebounds, 5 rebounds and 4 assists. I say only, but I mean, he played 30 minutes alongside Luka, right? And he really probably played like 20 of those minutes without Luka on the floor. And then 10 of those minutes, he just had to stand there and hope that it was his turn when Luka decided he was tired on an offensive possession, which is just a crappy way to play offense. But now, obviously, it's Jalen's ball. It's his offense at this point. And he's been pissed since he got snubbed from that All-Star game, despite having such good stats and being the best player, in my opinion, on this Knicks team, at least the most crucial to the reason that they're in the 6th seed right now. And in his last 8, since he realized that he was not going to be an all-star, 32.5 a game and 140 individual offensive ratings. So, I mean, look, the Wiz, they've been better than, if you look a little bit more closely, they've been pretty good. I mean, better on offense, but also like much better on defense. Point guards can score on them. That is one place that they're a little bit more vulnerable. They seem to limit assists pretty well against point guards, but they definitely give up a ton of points, like the 9th most in the league. So it's not like that's the strongest position for them in terms of where they're playing on defense. Obviously, Monte Morris being the guy that they're hoping to stop him. So I feel good about Jalen being able to eat tonight.
I feel good about the over in this game at 225, right? And so, like, Jalen's scoring such a high percentage of the Knicks' points right now. The Wizards scoring 123 a game in their last 4 before the break, shooting 56% and 46% from deep. They've got their big 3, their medium-sized 3, whatever you want to call it, but they're playing really well on offense. And I mean, the Knicks aren't getting much of anything outside of Jalen and Julius Randle, especially Jalen in this type of matchup. So, yeah, I think he scores a lot if the Knicks are going to be anywhere near Washington on the road here. So looking in Milwaukee, no Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that means Jrue Holiday. Let's see your high usage version. He's really taken a back seat this season because Giannis leads the league in usage rate whenever they have the big man in there. But with him out, it's going to be back to Jrue putting up some of the crazy numbers we saw in the last few without him. Chris Middleton's still not 100%. He's definitely not ready to be the number one option. So, and it's already a good spot against Miami because that's a Heat defense that typically limits point guards. I mean, limits everybody. But guys like Jrue that are just so tough and so versatile in their ability to score, they tend to put up numbers against Miami still because somebody's got to put it in the basket. And he has a 124 offensive rating. His last 7 against Miami, 20 points per game, 8 assists per game. Had played 2 recently without Giannis against Miami. The usage rate is at 26%, 10.5 assists. And in general, without Giannis this season, 24 points, 10 assists, 30% usage rate. So very high here. I think the 7.5 assists is a good bet at plus 100 if he's going to have the ball in his hands all night. 33.5 PRA. I do think his fingerprints will be all over this one. And you just look at the home numbers. He's shooting 50% from 3 at home in his last 10 right now, hitting 3.2 a game. For him to hit 3 threes is minus 118. Don't hate that. I mean, the Bucks offense is just, in general, much better at home, and Jrue is no exception.
Yeah, it's my guy for sure. I mean, I picked him up in fantasy this season knowing Chris Middleton would be missing time, and that if Giannis ever did as well, that just meant Drew's usage was about to skyrocket. So it's going to be an interesting roster that they're now throwing out there. We'll see, Joe Ingles and Javon Carter and Bobby Portis are going to get some increased minutes. Middleton's starting. He was on a minutes limit before they went to the break. We'll see what happens, but it doesn't matter. Without Giannis on the floor, even if Chris Middleton's out there, who's ever out there, Drew's going to be out there for what, if they're trying to win this game down the stretch, he might get close to 38, 40 minutes. He's not coming out at that point as a guy who they need all over the floor. So with that fact alone, I do like Jrue tonight as well. So I'm going to finish with an under for us, Nate, and I'm taking a guy that I love. I've been talking about him, Nick Claxton. He's been probably the best rim protector in the league. I mean, he's got the best opponent's field goal percentage at the rim this season outside of Jaren Jackson Jr., but he's played a lot more than Triple J as well. I will say it's just been a little bit different for him, like we talked about in the game video, since the trade of the superstars. That's just what he relied on to eat and get some of his numbers and points especially. But I'm going under on the points, rebounds, and assists. The assists are at 1.5, which he averages 1 a game. So I'm very happy to throw assists in there. The points and rebounds as well, but 24.5 there, minus 115 on DraftKings. The last 3 since the team got blown up, and he's been playing alongside guys like Cam and Mikal Bridges. He's only played 25 minutes in that time frame. He was getting closer to 30, 28 to 30 when everybody else was on this squad. 7 points a game, 6.7 boards, and 1 assist in that time frame, well below 24.5 at what's that, 14, 15 total there that he's been combining for. That usage rate down to 13.6%. It was at 15, 16% with the other guys because he was able to at least get into positions where they were feeding him in the dunker spot and things like that. His rebounds are down on the season. He's got 9, 8.5, 9 a game, but in the last 4 or 5 with Day'Ron Sharpe getting in there, actually has more boards a game than Nick Claxton in just 15 minutes per game as well for the youngster. Might continue to see a bit more of him as they're probably not taking their finals chances pretty seriously anymore. And that Chicago defense that we talk about, that's been really, really good in their last 10, going all the way back. 3rd best defensive rating and limiting everything down low, second chance points in the paint, rebound percentage, everything that Nick Claxton would need to get those hustle points and then get those scrappy points and rebounds. I just think they're going to be limiting that too well for him. He's only had combined for 20 points, rebounds, and assists in the 2 games they played this season against Chicago, and that was with his guys in there in terms of Kyrie and KD. So just not a good spot for Nick Claxton, who might not even get enough minutes to get his stats tonight.
Yeah, it's a good call because the chemistry is not there yet. I mean, just so many new pieces on this team. And because Claxton, he just feeds off guys like Kyrie penetrating and then giving him the ball in the dunker spot. He doesn't have his own offensive set. He's not getting any back to the basket post touches or anything. He's definitely not getting any assists. I mean, maybe 1 out of luck here. And Chicago's a good rebounding team. Vucevic, I believe the last time these teams played was when I had the Vooch over rebounds, under points that both hit. But tonight, I think if Claxton's not playing as many minutes because they're trying to figure things out on offense, Brooklyn, I think that's even more reason to like the Bulls because I think Vucevic is going to eat against Day'Ron Sharpe or in a small ball lineup if that's something Nets are going to roll. But yeah, I think you're right under 24.5 PRA here.
Yeah, I hate it too because he was rounding into form this season in a way that he hadn't yet, and then it just all blew up around him. This isn't the roster for him and the way that he plays. So that's all the time we have for you guys, though. Continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page. We're coming back to you next Monday as we look to stay wicked hot on these player props. So until we see you next, happy betting.